Hi guys, welcome to Interior Insights. I'm Jane and today we are going to look at a unique, beautiful loft that blends the perfect mix of industrial design with raw details and a very light, airy and bohemian design. If you love Scandinavian industrial design, this video is for you. Come in. As we come in, we can see that the loft is held in a very industrial design and a lot of colors are very light. The building itself was built in 1904 and we are actually standing in the souterrain etage of the building, which means that it's halfway under the ground. And a challenge with these floors always is the fact that you just have a lack of light that the design needs to make up for. And we can see in this incredible loft that for this reason we have a lot of light colors, and yet the design itself has a deep character. The loft itself has 3 different bedrooms and 2 unique bathrooms, and one of them is incredibly unique, so I will show you that later. And as we come in, we directly enter the open living room. To my left, we have a beautiful old table, and the table consists of gigantic slabs of really old wood, and we can see the entire history that the wood went through. The wooden beams themselves are being held together by these big rustic metal brackets, and this is just a very industrial design. And I love the fact that even though this loft in some way is very colorful and playful, but you still have these rustic and very bold accents. The color palette in this apartment is kept in a range of warm browns and with a lot of different fun color pops. For example, we have these beautiful 6 chairs upholstered in this very thick and luxurious fabric. You can see that they have a very strong texture and again add dynamic to the place. The entire table setup itself is placed on top of a carpet, and this just really zones the room and creates different areas in the open space layout. To my left, we have a very generous kitchen, and we can see that the countertop is held very high. So it has actually a double function. You can cook here, you can cut your vegetables, but you can also stand and just drink a glass of wine or relax after the end of a long day. The kitchen setup itself is a very long kitchen that spans from one side all the way to the other side. And then in front of it, we have this gigantic, beautiful kitchen island. The stone again mimics all of this concrete that we have around us. We just have a certain set of materials, such as this open and raw concrete or the different shades of wood. And it's these materials that create the repetition inside the design. You can see that if you make a decision, such as adding tiles to a backdrop, it's always a good idea to really follow through with these decisions and to go all the way. In this case, it's pulling up the tiles all the way until the ceiling. This is both at the same time the hallway, but because there was just an excess of space, the architects thought, we have 3 bedrooms but only 1 bathroom. Let's create another bathroom. So this hallway actually also has a double function and serves as a bathroom. And I love the design and the layout of this bathroom because we have essentially this freestanding wall that is in the center, and then we can go around from both sides. And over here we have the shower. And everything again is kept very minimalistic, very clean to hide away everything that we don't want to see. We have this beautiful sink made from one gigantic slab of stone, and you just have this beautiful rough texture that perfectly goes with these gigantic terrazzo tiles that again mimic this rough texture. This is just a little moment in this loft where so many rich and deeply textured elements come together and create a little bit of magic. This side of the wall again has the beautiful texture and structure of the old bricks. And I love that just so many different elements come together here. And of course, whenever you have a bathroom, you sometimes need a moment of privacy. And because of this, we have these beautiful rustic steel frame glass doors that perfectly underline this rustic character and the character of having and living in a loft. Now, let me show you the second living room and lounge area. So this is the second living room, and we can see that here we have a full sofa setup. Behind me, we have this gigantic, lush, comfortable sofa. And again, all of the colors are very light and Most of them are different shades of beige or just white colors. Here we have these beautiful, unique lampshades that create this triangular geometry and just really break up all of the straight lines that we have in this apartment. And I love the fact that we can see all of these strings and then the natural material, and they just create this very moody design. Behind the sofa, we have these two artworks that are again just geometric shapes that break up the design in this very thick white plaster. And you just have this dynamic in the space, and yet at the same time it feels very calm. Over here we have a little accent of light that actually just is a light bulb that gives off very warm light. And this is just a place where you can really wind down at the end of a long day, and there's nothing to distract you, but you just feel like you are immersing yourself in a beautiful, deeply, richly layered design. On the other side of the sofa is where it actually gets interesting, because over here we have a beautiful wooden sideboard made out of dark wood. Is a small masterpiece by itself. This is the only wall that has been created by the architects themselves that wasn't originally here, and we just have these New York styled metal framed windows, and we can look inside a bedroom. And this again, it's small details like this, like for example this glass wall, that really create and underline this rustic industrial loft character. Let me show you. So this is a second bedroom. We have all of these beautiful natural materials, such as this beautiful blanket that reminds me of the washed up wood that you find when you're at the beach. The bed consists just of a bed frame, and to make up for the lack of the headboard, we actually have an entire wall that is again made from the same wooden beams. We just have a wooden beam that is hanging from two pieces of string, and this is where you can hang all of your clothes. As we enter, we can see that we are just entering a beautiful, dreamy master bedroom. Here we have a much brighter and much bolder design with a lot of different color accents. And this is just what creates this very cozy design. The bed itself is framed by two unique and bold lamps. The lamps are actually from Cave Design. For the bedside tables, we have these big red and bold ceramic bedside tables. The architects again accentuated the historic structure of this apartment. So above me you can actually see the concrete ceiling that has been again laid free, just to give it this more modern approach. We have this indirect lighting that highlights the concrete walls. We have a beautiful blue sofa, and it just is held in this light and bright turquoise, and we can see that even though there are so many colors added, they're all very light and airy. A very vintage and old element that has been added is the carpet beneath the bed, and the carpet itself gives the bed again a much grander feeling, and you also just have this beautiful old patina of the carpet. So this is the third bedroom, and we can see that this is the most generous bedroom of the three. We have a very generous and spacious layout. The bed itself doesn't just sit on top of one carpet, but actually in fact two. And this is just a very generous gesture, and you can see that two carpets layered on top of each other can create a very interesting dynamic inside a room. We have a hanging chair that is literally hanging from our concrete ceiling, and it is just such a fun element to have in your bedroom. In this bedroom we have much more organic shapes than in the rest of the room. Also, the bedside tables themselves are just slabs of wood that have this very organic shape, and everything feels very loose and very fluffy and organic. The star of the show in this bedroom is this bathtub right over here, and it actually has a similar story to all of the wooden beams that we find in this apartment and that have also been used here as a step for the bathtub. And that is that a client of the architects had bought it and then for some reason didn't need it and just wanted to throw it out, and the architects thought, you can't possibly throw a bathtub as beautiful as this out because that would be a total waste. So they saved a bathtub by putting it inside a bedroom, which is also a very unconventional solution, but it perfectly fits the space, and it just creates this element of surprise as soon as you enter. Another focal point in this room is that as soon as you enter, you can look at this beautiful, unique painting, and it has been painted on top of this pieces of wood, and the wood itself actually looks like a window shield, and it just adds this very graphic touch, this very unique and prestigious element to the design. Another perk of this apartment is the fact that we actually have our own terrace. Up here we have the terrace, and you can see that it just is this beautiful tropical dream. Over here we have little lemon trees, or behind me we have a beautiful olive tree. You just have this very charming atmosphere throughout the entire apartment, and it extends even into your own small courtyard. And I love it. So now we looked at a loft that blends this industrial character with this very lush and light and airy design. Let me know in the comments if you like this design mix or not. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please make sure to subscribe. I hope to see you next week.